it is possible to use the mesh audio node outside of a mesh network. Here we have a very simple particle system and we want the audio to drive the emission rate. So we want to drive the rate of this emitter, and to do this we go to the node editor, which is an editor that allows you to graph any nodes and make connections between nodes. It's much like the Hypershade, but not just for shading, it's for anything in Maya. I had the emitter selected when I opened the node editor, so the emitter is already there. If it's not there, you can add anything by clicking on the in and outputs, or the inputs or the outputs over here, the little triangles in the squares. But I need my emitter, time goes in and particle system comes out. And by default it shows collapsed. If we do hit 2, it shows the connected in and outputs, and if you hit 3, it shows all the in and outputs, which are actually an enormous amount. And we need the rate, so we'll get to that in a second. But first we're going to create an audio node, a mesh audio node. I can hit tab and simply start typing mesh, and the top one is the mesh audio node. So now I have a mesh audio node. It's also connected to time. And I want the output that's called out volume. That gives me a single value for the volume of the selected audio. And I'm going to put that into rate. So the out volume is now connected to rate. I hit 2 to open up this node. And let's see what that does. Well, we haven't got any audio yet, so let's import the audio so we can hear it. Let's go to sound, the WAV file. There it is, Electromix. I also need to get it into my mesh audio node, and I need to do that separately. So my mesh audio also needs that same audio file. So now it's in the mesh audio file, it's in the timeline, and I'm just briefly going to close the node editor, and I can show you now that it does nothing. Well, it doesn't do nothing. If we go to the emitter, we can actually see that there's a really tiny value there. The issue with the volume output of the mesh node is that the volume, the level, is really low. It's from 0 to 1, and at this volume it's 0.008. So let's make that maybe 1,000 times higher to get to 8 particles at this point. So let's go back to our node editor. It remembered what was in the node editor. And so this volume needs to be much higher. There's no settings in the audio node or in the emitter, so we need to put something in between. So I'll create a new node, hitting tab, and I'm going to go for a multiply. There it is, multiply divide. That node allows you to multiply something by something else. Duh. So that out volume is going into one of the inputs, input 1x for instance, and I'm going to take the output x and put that into rate. So this multiply divide is now in between my out volume of the mesh audio and into the rate of the emitter. I'm going to multiply it by, I think 1,000. Let's try that. And let's see what happens now. So you see that it actually drives the rate of the particle system. You can have that volume drive anything you want. Anything you can connect in the node editor can be driven by that out volume if you just multiply it by the right amount.